Sergeant Lim Kyu-nam, a soldier in the North Korean People's Army who is about to be discharged after 10 years of service, prepares to defect from North Korea to South Korea. He wakes up in his camp while the rest of the soldiers are asleep to plot his course according to his map and spot hidden explosives buried in the area. One morning, while patrolling through the forest with his fellow soldiers, Kyu-nam hears from one of the soldiers that rain is expected to arrive in 2 days and plans to escape using this window. While sitting alone thinking about his childhood, Kyu-nam gets interrupted by Dong-hyuk, a lower-ranking soldier who has already discovered his plan to defect. Dong-hyuk tells him he knows about his escape plans and mentions that he also wants to escape to see his family, but Kyu-nam strongly denies everything and warns him not to think about such things. In the middle of the night, Kyu-nam and the rest of the soldiers in his room are woken up by an alarm, and they are told about a deserter being on the run. Kyu-nam misleads the rest of the soldiers in another way and goes out to find Dong-hyuk after discovering his map is gone. He finds Dong-hyuk near the fence, trying to find the hole that he previously dug for himself. Kyu-nam tells him to come with him, but Dong-hyuk is determined to leave and gets electrocuted by the fence after trying to dig another hole. Kyu-nam tried to stop him, but he was almost forced by Dong-hyuk, who pulled a gun on him to lead the way. He talks some sense into Dong-hyuk, but both end up being arrested. Both Kyu-nam and Dong-hyuk get beaten up and are asked to reveal who the map belongs to. After getting threatened with a firing squad, Dong-hyuk takes the blame and mentions that Kyu-nam doesn't know anything. Although their interrogator didn't believe them, everything changed when reports came in that Major Lee Hyun-sang was on his way to the camp to deal with the matter. Every superior officer was scared, and the camp was on high alert. Hyun-sang arrives at the camp and meets the officials. He tells them that Dong-hyuk confessed and Kyu-nam was trying to apprehend the deserter. Then, he instructs everyone to report that Kyu-nam is a hero who tried to apprehend a deserter unless they want the wrath of his higher officials. Later, Kyu-nam finds himself abandoned in the middle of nowhere after seeing the officers who drove him leave the car. He is surprised to see Hyun-sang, who has known him since childhood, get into the car. Kyu-nam drives him, and the two have a conversation about the past. Hyun-sang tells him about a banquet prepared by the Director General, and Kyu-nam drives him there. At the banquet, Kyu-nam is presented as a hero in front of all the highest-ranking members of the army. He gave a good speech and was applauded for it. Kyu-nam gets restless and calls Hyun-sang to remind him that it is getting late, but he hears surprising news instead. He has now been promoted and assigned to the Division HQ. Kyu-nam is shocked to hear this and asks him why he is assigned to a new post after he is just about to be discharged. Hyun-sang tells him that he has nothing better to do outside the military, and Kyu-nam confronts him about the way he decides his future. Hyun-sang pushes back with authority, and Kyu-nam changes his tone. He smiles and asks to return to base first to say goodbye to his men, but he can't convince Hyun-sang, who tells him to accept fate. Then Kyu-nam seemed to cooperate with the official assigned to escort him and sat to fill out a transfer form. But while Hyun-sang enjoys the party laughing with the ladies, Kyu-nam cuts out his picture taken during the ceremony and makes a fake military ID card. Initially, he planned to escape by running through the forest, but after running into soldiers in a patrol tower, Kyu-nam poses as an inspector and uses their binoculars to scan the place. He sees the gate of the compound and a couple of military cars. Then, after finding a car with its door unlocked, Kyu-nam pretends to be the driver of one of the drunk generals to his vehicle and carries him into his vehicle. He exits the compound through the official gate. Later, the drunk general wakes up abandoned in the middle of an empty field, and Kyu-nam is seen driving back to the base. But he ran out of fuel and some military vehicles were passing in front of him. His vehicle eventually comes to a stop, and so does the military cars. Kyu-nam sat scared in the car as the military vehicles drove their car back to his position. He decides to act with confidence and gets out of the car to ask for some gasoline. When asked for a pass, he shows them the fake ID and introduces himself using his new title. Suddenly, First Lieutenant Hong steps out of the car and starts asking questions about how he failed to fill up his tank. Kyu-nam fearlessly argues with everything he has got, and at last Hong asks him to come with them to the Hyunpungri station if he wants the gas. Kyu-nam mentions he is on a classified mission from state security and discovers that Dong-hyuk is held up at that station. He tells Hong about his mission to capture the co-conspirator, and when he talks about the map, Hong can't doubt him any longer. Next, Kyu-nam arrives at the Hyunpung-ri demilitarized zone police and walks into the cell, where Dong-hyuk lies scared and beaten up. After meeting Dong-hyuk and assuring him he will get him out, Kyunam leaves Hyunpung-ri station, escorted by Hong's men after the officials insisted on accompanying them, even though Kyunam told them it was better to go alone. While they were on the road, one of the suspicious officials called a state security officer he knew and tried to verify the identity of Kyunam. He asked Kyunam to speak with him. Kyunam uses his acting skills and tries to weave his way out of the situation, but the news reaches Hyun-sung, who finds out that Kyunam is trying to escape. Kyunam hung up after speaking with him and didn't hide his intention. They continue to be escorted by the officials from the Hyunpung-ri station, but when one of them gets an order to take the vehicle back to the division, Kyunam decides to go for the sidearm of the driver, and a struggle ensues. Kyunam was almost shot after the driver pointed his gun at him, but somehow the driver was shot and killed, leading the car to crash. Kyunam survives the car crash and pulls out Dong-hyuk, but they come under heavy fire from Hyun-sung's men, who have arrived at the scene along with Hyun-sung himself. After the shooting stopped, Hyun-sung used his binoculars to see Kyunam, who pretended to play dead after covering his face with blood, on the ground. But he decides to approach the vehicle, forcing Kyunam to make a run. He picks up the map that was lying a few feet from them and continues to run with Dong-hyuk while being fired at by Hyun-sung's men, who were approaching fast. After running a little, Kyunam and Dong-hyuk were able to temporarily escape the men by jumping into a river. Then, Hyun-sung goes back to see the drunk general and shoots him after making sure that he didn't report Kyunam's desertion. He calls his superior officer to ask for more men to take care of the situation. Later, Kyunam wakes up on the shore, and with Dong-hyuk's warning, they hide themselves from an armed man approaching their position. But they were discovered and held at gunpoint by a nomad woman and her group. They are about to be shot, but Dong-hyuk begs for their life, and when he mentions they escaped from Hyunpung-ri station, they get the attention of the nomads, whose one of their members is arrested at the station as well. Luckily, Dong-hyuk remembers the kidnapped member and describes him in detail, saving their lives on the way. That night, while sitting around a fire in a forest, Dong-hyuk explains the layout of the Hyunpung-ri station for a rescue attempt they plan to conduct the next day. However, Hyun-sung has found the nomads' hiding place and has sent a unit. But the nomad leader gets the information about the approaching units, and they hide. Hyun-sang also brought a large number of soldiers to the forest and guided them through it. When one of the children with the nomads steps on a twig, the soldiers hear it and approach their position. But Kyunam fires a couple of rounds and diverts their attention to him and Dong-hyuk. The two make a run while being shot from every direction, and one of the bullets hits Dong-hyuk's leg. Kyunam goes back to help, but they couldn't go far as they were being surrounded from all directions. Suddenly, the nomad women appeared out of nowhere and began shooting at the soldiers, forcing them to divert their attention to them despite Hyun-sang's orders. Kyunam and Dong-hyuk used the opportunity to flee the scene. After a while, the soldiers returned empty-handed to meet Hyun-sung, who beat up their leader for disobeying his orders. Kyunam and Dong-hyuk, on the other hand, make it to the base camp after a long, painful walk. They join a couple of soldiers in training and march with them. But Hyun-sung arrives at the camp and makes a speech about capturing the two deserters, offering to bestow a title of hero on the one who finds them. Kyunam and Dong-hyuk make their escape according to the plan, but they are spotted by one of the officials when Kyunam fails to make a jump and makes a noise in the mess hall. When the soldiers try to enter through the barricaded entrance, Kyunam pours gasoline on the door and lights it as soon as they break in, giving them time to escape. The two almost made it out, but Dong-hyuk gets shot from behind by Hyun-sung, who is using a sniper, when he remained behind to retrieve his mother's necklace. Kyunam fires back and approaches Dong-hyuk, who is somehow alive. Kyun-gnam helps him escape through the face using the hole, but Dong-hyuk seems to give up on everything. He gives the necklace to Kyunam and asks him to give it to his sister. Then, he gets a shot a second time and doesn't survive this time. Hyun-sung was about to shoot Kyun-gnam too, but Kyun-gnam shoots the light and makes a run through the fields. He kept shooting the other lights and made it difficult for Hyun-sung to see. Kyun-gnam got a clean shot, but his clip got empty and Hyun-sung shot back. With his compass shot, Kyunam uses his radio to guide himself out of the field. Then, he boldly decides to run through the minefields as Hyung-sang and his men open fire from behind. He makes it through the minefields without blowing up, and after swimming through a swamp full of mud, Kyunam reaches the military demarcation line of South Korea. But accidentally, he stepped on a landmine, and when he was about to call the South Korean soldiers, Hyung-sang pointed a gun at his head from behind. Kyugram pulls him to the front and puts him on the spot. After having a heart-to-heart moment with Hyung-sang, Kyunam decides to step away from the mine, but it doesn't explode. However, Hyung-sang doesn't let him go easily, and both get into a physical struggle, which Kyunam wins after knocking him unconscious. Then, he makes a call to the South Koreans identifying himself as a defector and gets accepted, but Hyung-sang starts shooting from behind, and Kyun-ginam runs to the gate of the South Koreans. Although he got shot in the leg, he dragged himself through a tunnel. Kyunam almost made it to the line of demarcation, but got shot in the back before he could make it past it. Hyung-sang approaches and points his gun at him, but he can't finish him, as the bleeding Kyunam gives everything he has in him to touch the line. Hyung-sang walks back through the tunnels as the South Korean soldiers approach Kyunam and take him away. After some time, Hyung-sang is seen in a classroom and looks at Kyunam's childhood book, and somewhere in South Korea, Kyunam prepares to write a travel proposal. Then, he visits Dong-hyuk's mother and gives her the necklace as promised, but chooses not to tell her about her son's death. In the end, Kyunam is seen standing on a bridge listening to a radio program and walks away happily after receiving a message about his proposal being approved.